Hey guys, today we're going to be working with 4 of Excel's best kept secrets. Now, they're not actually secrets, you can actually find them in the manual, but so few people actually know them that you actually think they are secrets. Now, let me tell you, we're going to start off with a formula called network days, which is going to let you know how many labor days are in between 2 dates. We're going to talk about Excel's forecasting function. We're going to know how to replace nested ifs using VLOOKUP. And finally, best for last, we're going to talk about a little gem of a formula called DSUM, alright? And that's excellent for replacing sumif, where whatever sumif is actually unable to help you. Okay, so let's get started. Alright guys, let's get started. The first function I want to talk about is network days, alright? Now, what is this good for? Well, suppose it's really useful for figuring out how many labor days, how many workable days are in between 2 dates, okay? Because Excel can subtract dates one from another and tell you how many days are in between dates, but it's going to give you a calendar number, all right? Calendar-based number. What do I mean by that? Suppose here that I have an employee, Tina, and this is the start date of her contract and the end date of her contract. If I just grab the end date and subtract it from that the start date, so 13th of June minus the 5th of April, I'll get that there were 69 calendar days in total in between these 2 dates, all right? But I have no way of knowing how many days she actually worked, okay? That is where network days comes in. Network days is going to actually subtract the weekends and the holidays and anything else that I care to mention and give me a total of days worked. So how does it work? It's really simple. Let me just make this a little bit larger so you can actually see what's going on. And I'll start typing. Type in equals and I start typing network days, all right? So it's network days as in network, right? Nothing to do with networks and computer networks and stuff like that, okay? So it's going to ask me for three arguments. I'm going to just use 2, start date and end date. The start date is going to be the 5th of April and the end date is going to be the 13th of June. Close parenthesis, and I get that Tina should have worked 50 days under the following rules. Monday to Friday, assume no holidays, all right? Network days assumes that you're going to be working 5 days a week. That's it, okay? And you're going to be resting Saturday and Sunday. So let me just drag this out. Notice it's really simple, and we can, we can fill up the data for pretty much everyone else. Now, next up, I have this little table, which is the exact same table, but the rules have changed. I'm still going to give no holidays to poor workers, but not only that, I'm going to make them work Saturdays, okay? Now, this is an atypical weekend. Network days is not going to be good for that. Excel, however, has you covered, so don't worry about that. Supposing that you're going to be working under these rules and that you have to work Saturdays because this heartless, greedy, capitalist enterprise makes their workers just rest 1 day, you have to use the following formula, and it's called NetWorkDays.int. All right, Intel stands for international. You don't have to care about that. You just have to know that if you want to modify your weekends, if you want modified weekends that are not just Saturday and Sunday, then you have to use this formula, okay? Now, the start date is the same as always. The end date, again, same as always. But the weekend, notice how I'm giving a bunch of options, all right? It can be either a 2-day weekend, provided you get any combination possible, Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, Monday, Monday, Tuesday, and so on. Or it can be any 1-day weekend, all right? If these people, they have to work Saturdays, they have to go ahead and be exploited on Saturdays, like I have to do, I work Saturdays, then they only get the Sunday free. At least that's what I'm assuming, all right? They only get Sunday free. So I'm going to go ahead and double click here, and you'll notice I get an 11. That's a code for only working Sundays. I'm going to close my parentheses, and yeah, there we go. 60 working days in total between the 2 dates, okay? So notice the difference. You rest Saturday and Sunday, you only work 50 days. You only rest Sundays, you work 60 days. Okay, guys? Okay, now, last up. The rules here are they do get holidays and they get a 5-day work week. And that 5-day work week is going to include rest days in Saturday and Sunday. So I could go ahead and use Network Days International with the start date being this one. I'm expecting here that you are going to type in, you're going to give it a table, a very small table consisting of just dates, all right? Notice that I set up a table here of the holidays for 2019 in Mexico. It includes titles and it includes the descriptions. Excel does not care for that. Excel only wants the dates, everything from the 1st of January all the way up to Christmas. That's the only thing that I'm going to be selecting. And I'm going to close the parenthesis, and it's going to tell me that they're only going to work 47 days, all right? Because they rest on weekends, and there's probably 3 holidays that get in between these 2 dates. Okay, guys, a note about holidays, One, you have to set up a holiday table for every single year that is being considered. If we were to be covering something like 2020 or 2021, you cannot recycle the table. Why? Because both in America and in Mexico, and I'm pretty sure that in almost every other country in the world, the holidays are different every year, all right? They're like the first weekend, the first long weekend of June, or the first long weekend of September, I don't know. So that is why you need a different table for every single year that you're considering, all right? A second note, sometimes you don't get the holiday, but you have to consider stuff like that wasn't the plan. For example, once I had a student ask me, hey, on the 6th of June, we had like the plant literally flooded, that there was like a sewage pipe break, and the plant literally flooded and nobody could work. So that was a day off. So what happens there? I type in my new date here in my table, and then I'm going to add a description, plant flooding, all right? Notice how as soon as I type this, my network days changed to 46, all right? Because, yeah, it flooded on the 6th of June. It was still a working day for Tina, and that means that that's one less day that she actually worked, okay? So, yeah, that's going to include every missed working day because of accidents, because the employee didn't show up or whatever. Yeah, you can include this in a little table just as if it were a holiday. All right, guys, so that's it for network days. You'll notice it's really simple. Let's go ahead and talk about predictions. All right, guys, so now let's talk about predictions. Excel has a very little known forecast tool. That's like a new addition for Excel 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So it's only available to you if you have Excel 2016 or 2019. Now, it's not going to be like the be-all end-all of forecasting, but it can get you out of a problem very quick, okay? So let's get started. The only thing that you need to know, a little bit of background knowledge, is how Excel manages dates here. Say, for example, today's date, today's date is going to be, if I remember correctly, 4th of April of 2019, all right? Now, this is the way that we humans understand dates. However, Excel has a very different understanding of them. If I were to change the format of this date to number, then you'd read it as 43,559. Why? Because Excel takes into account how many days have transcurred since the 1st of January of 1900, okay? So, if you were to start from this particular date and count how many days there were up until today, then you'd get this number, okay? Make sure that you keep that in mind because you're going to need it for the forecast tool. All right, now let's get started into the example that I want to present to you. I have here my dates, and I have the closing prices for the Standard & Poor's 500. For those of you not from America, this is like one of the biggest indexes, if not the biggest index, the main index that stock markets follow. All right, so this is pretty much everything from the 29th of March of 2018 to the 14th of November of 2018. All right, and I'm going to be using this data set right here to try and forecast the next 30 days, which I have the reality right here from the 14th of November to the 3rd of December. This is how prices actually behaved. So I'm going to forecast based on this training data set right here and check out how close Excel gets to this. Okay, so let's get started. It's going to be really, really, really simple. I'm just going to click on any part right here of this table. I'm going to go ahead and click on data, and I'm going to click on forecast sheet. All right, now you'll notice we'll get this little screen over here. And the blue part is the training data, this one over here. The orange part is what Excel is supposing that the series is going to do in the future, all right? Now, notice several things. The first thing that it's asking me is when is the forecast going to end? And it's giving me this number, 43,476. Remember what I talked about right here? Yeah, you're not going to be able to access dates right here. You're going to have to figure out what date it is that you want, convert it to number, and then type it in here. So right now, I didn't do that. I'm going to stick with this number, okay? Now the forecast start, you can be sure that it is this date converted to number, okay? This date converted to number. Now confidence interval is going to be, well, that's a statistical concept based on how much confident, I mean, it's It's a statistical concept. I'm not going to talk about that right here. Okay, and seasonality, whether you wanted to detect any seasonal patterns or not within your data. Now, this is thinking about retail stores, not market predictions, okay? And, well, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to click Create, okay? I'm going to click Create. Now, it's going to give me my chart, including this orange part, which gives me the forecast, the lower confidence and upper confidence bound, and these are actually the dates. So the first thing that I want to do is convert this to a date format. I'll head over to Home and click here where it says Short Date. All right, there we go. Now we have the values, the original values. These are the closing prices up and until we start the forecast. All right, this is the last data for which we have training data. And then this is the main forecast. I mean, this is where Excel is supposed to be staking its reputation on. We also have a lower confidence bound and an upper confidence bound. So now let's check it out. I want to compare this prediction with what actually happened with the Standard & Poor's 500. On the 3rd of March, I'm sorry. On the 3rd of December, we got a closing price of 2,815, okay? So, right here, I'm being told that on the 3rd of December, we got a closing price of 2,779. A little bit below what was expected. More troublesome, however, is the fact that if we were to actually take Excel's word on the forecast, we would have actually sold, all right? Because Excel would have told us you're at 784, and by then you should be 5 points below. You should sell. That's problematic because the reality is that the market actually went up a little bit if you want, but it actually went up. Okay, so yeah, the forecast tool is not very reliable, but at least it's defensible in the sense that if you're doing budgeting or anything, you can actually use forecast. If the forecast tool was actually reliable and you could use it to forecast markets, I wouldn't be doing Excel videos. I'd be somewhere lost in some tropical island, lost in alcohol. All right, so keep that in mind. It's going to be useful when you're forecasting flat sales across like a not very complex organization. All right, guys, next up, let's talk about the if replacement. All right, guys, this next one is probably one of my favorites. It's replacing the if function, more specifically the nested if. All right, so browsing through the internet, I found this little IQ table where they are classifying people based on their IQ. Now, I know this is going to upset a lot of people, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about how would we go about classifying all of these people based on this methodology right here. Okay, so if we were working, say for example, with just with nested ifs, then I'd have to do the following. I'd have to type in if, and then I'd have to check out if this person has an IQ greater than, I said greater than 140, and if she does, then she's a genius. If she doesn't, then I have to open up another if and check if this person has an IQ greater than 120. And if she does, she could be considered of very superior intelligence. And if she doesn't, I have to open up another if, and again check out if she has an IQ greater than, and so on and so on and so on. All right, you get the idea. Now, the problem with this is that we have, I'm just going to delete this, we have seven possibilities. That means that I'm going to have to write 6 different if functions, okay? And if it's really easy for me to mess up one of those if functions or for someone else to go ahead and mess it up, there's a much simpler way to do these nested ifs. And that is just going ahead and using VLOOKUP, okay? So most of you are probably familiar with the normal VLOOKUP, but this is an approximate VLOOKUP, and it's almost the same thing. Let me walk you through it. So I'm going to start typing in equals VLOOKUP, and notice that VLOOKUP is going to ask for a bunch of things. So I'm not going to delve so deeply into VLOOKUP, but it should get you ahead even if you don't know what it is. So VLOOKUP is going to ask for the following things. What value are we starting with? Well, the value that we're starting with is 150, okay? That's the person's IQ. In which table array am I going to be comparing it against? Well, this one, right here. All right, and I'm going to make sure that I do an absolute reference with the F4 key in my keyboard in order to make sure that this table doesn't move anywhere. All right, doesn't go anywhere. Now, call index num. Where am I going to search? Where am I going to look up the classification based on their IQ? Well, it's in column number 2, okay? It's in column number 2 of this table that I can figure out where the labels are, all right? So column number 2. And finally, this is the part that makes the magic happen. Range lookup is about whether we want an approximate or an exact range. We want an approximate lookup, all right? Now, approximate means that it's going to search for the next lowest number. If the IQ of this person is 150, the next lowest number in the table is 140. So it's going to classify her as a genius, all right? So press OK, and there we go. She's classified correctly. Expand everything all the way down, and notice how everyone is correctly classified, all right? Eva Buffkin, she has a 53 IQ. That would place her within functional retardation, and yes, the VLOOKUP actually classified her correctly. Dwayne Thornton, 131. Very superior intelligence. Yeah, VLOOKUP actually did the job, all right? Now, 2 things that you have to take into consideration. The first one is that the table where you're doing the classification has always, and without exception, it has to be organized from smallest to largest, all right? This doesn't work if it's from largest to smallest. That doesn't work. And if it's all over the place, then again, that doesn't work. Secondly, you can't do ranges, all right? I can't just go ahead and type from 50 to 69, okay? That's going to mess up everything that falls within that classification. I have to do the following. It has to be 50, and then 70 is the start of the next range, and that's the way Excel understands it, all right? That's the way Excel understands it. Now, finally, the last thing that I want you to notice is if someone is above the final limit on the table, then it's going to be classified automatically as a genius. But if someone is actually below 50, so say Eva Buffkin is actually a 35, then she gets an NA, all right? Why? Because, well, she's outside of the table, but below the smallest number. Since the approximate VLOOKUP actually searches for the next smallest number, then the next smallest number from 35 in the table doesn't exist, right? So it's going to return an NA, okay? So let's get her back to 53. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much how you would use VLOOKUP to replace the if function, the nested if function. Remember, this is a godsend when you're working with tables like this, where you have to classify people based on a certain score, IQ, body mass index, salary range, whatever. Yeah, the approximate VLOOKUP is a godsend. Now, I saved the best for last. Let's get started with DSUM. Alright guys, I left the best for last. This little gem of a formula is going to be called DSUM, and it's going to solve a lot of problems that you might run into when using the normal sum or sumif, alright? Now, DSUM is sometimes referred to as DBSUM. It uses the D up front in front of the sum because it refers to database, all right? It refers to database. And its usefulness comes in the fact that you can actually specify the criteria of what you want to add up by typing it into the Excel worksheet, all right? Now, this is the kind of formula that is easier shown than explained. So let's get started. The first thing that I want you to do is to benchmark this entire table by adding up the total sales. Now, that's going to be really simple because it's just a normal sum, all right? No need to get into DSUM just yet. Okay, so there we go. Total sales are 18 million. Now, the next one is all of the Monterey sales, all right? Now, let me explain to you how DSUM works, and then we're going to calculate all of the Monterey sales. You start off by typing equals DSUM, open parenthesis, all right? And notice that we get 3 items here: database, field, and criteria. The database is asking for an entire table where we're going to be adding everything up. Now, it's asking for the entire table because we're going to be assigning criteria as well. So, say for example, we want to add up all of the sales in the table, but based on whether they're Monterey or not. All right, they're Monterey sales or not. Okay, so database is the entire table. Now, field, that's the second argument. That's what it is that we're adding up. In this instance, it's sales. All right, and finally, criteria. That is expecting a table full of criteria based on what we're supposed to be adding up. Okay, guys? So let me go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this DSUM right now because I want you to notice something. I'm going to type in here sales, all right? Just type in here sales. Why? Because remember, DSUM asks us for the field that we're going to be adding up. And it has to be named exactly the same as the field right here in the table. Okay, so sales and sales. Next up, I'm going to type in up here. I'm pretty much going to do a carbon copy. So I'm just going to copy and paste the titles into this blue bar right here. Let me get rid of sales. Okay, this is where I'm going to start typing up my criteria. So the first thing that I'm going to do is type up here that for the office, we want the sum of everything that's Monterey related. All right, office Monterey. Okay, so now let's go ahead. Equals DSUM, where the database is going to be this item right here. Let me just do a fixed reference. The field that we're going to be adding up is going to be sales. So I'm just going to reference a cell that says sales, like this. And finally, for the criteria, I'm going to go ahead and select this little table right here, okay? The entire table is going to tell DSUM what kind of filters do I want to apply to my sum, all right? So for office, I want just Monterey. And for the rest of the fields, department, invoices, and employees, no filter, all right? No filter, just add everything up. But for office, just add up Monterey. Close the parenthesis, and we'll get $2,959,000, all right? Now, check it out. If I were to filter out everything here and just add it up by hand, say, for example, everything in Monterey, and add this up, I get $2,959,000. So, yes, this sum is actually doing what I expected it to do, okay? So, next up, all sales not from Mexico City and that they have more than 75 invoices. Well, this is a little bit more complicated for us. I'm being asked to add up everything that's not coming from Mexico City, so I just can't go ahead and type in Mexico, all right? Mexico, because that would actually add up everything from Mexico City. So instead, I'm going to do the following. I'm going to open up lesser than and a greater than to create this little quadrilateral shape right there, like this little diamond shape, and that is in Excel language that means not equals to. So that is not equals to Mexico. Okay, so that's my first criteria. I'm telling it add up everything that's not equals to Mexico: Querétaro, Monterrey, Puebla, Guadalajara, everything else. Okay. Second, it's asking me all sales not from Mexico City. We already took care of that, with more than 75 invoices. Okay, so I'll go ahead to my invoices column and type in the following. I need to type in a greater than 75. All right. Now, I just want you to notice one thing. I typed in greater than 75. That's it. But Excel automatically created this little apostrophe right here, all right, in front of the greater than. If you type in greater than and 75 and it's not working, make sure that you type in the apostrophe yourself. That should make it work, all right, in case Excel didn't do the apostrophe for you. Now, the apostrophe, every keyword is different. You have to go ahead and find it, okay? So there we go. This is my criteria. Let's go ahead and type it again. DSUM, where the database is this one. The criteria is sales, and the field is sales, and the criteria is going to be whatever is right here. Close the parenthesis, press enter, and there we go. Everything that came out of Mexico City, that came out of not Mexico City with more than 75 invoices adds up to 9 million. Let's double check. I'm going to get rid of Mexico City. I'm going to check out number filters, everything that's greater than 75. And if we add all of this up, 9,008,000. All right. So yeah, so far so good. Now let's get rid of the filters. And next up, okay. Sum of sales for marketing for more than 75 invoices and 40 employees. All right. So I'm going to get rid of the office and the invoices. And now marketing. Marketing is a department. I type in marketing right here. And then the invoices, more than 75. So it's greater than 75. And it's greater than 40 employees. Okay. And let's go ahead and do it. DSUM, where the database is right here. The field is sales. And the criteria is this one. And there we go. $2,016,000 of invoices from the marketing department with this characteristics. Okay. Now, if you want to add up other stuff, like say, for example, I had one student ask me, hey, what about if you wanted everything, all the sales from either Monterrey or Puebla? All right, so I'd go ahead and type in Monterrey here and Puebla down here. And then, again, DSUM. The database is this one. The field is sales. And the criteria is my little table, including Puebla. All right, 2 lines of criteria instead of just the one that I was using before. And there we go, 7 million of sales from both Monterrey and Puebla. Let's check it out. Monterrey and Puebla. 7 million in sales, just as it predicted. Okay, so there we go, guys. That's how you go about using DSUM. There's several reasons why I like DSUM a lot, and it's mostly because of this. All right, it's mostly because of this. I can set up my criteria quickly and just type them into Excel and change them on the fly. Whereas with sumif, you can get to the same result, no problem. But the way the function is structured, it's not as intuitive as you might like. All right, both have its ups and downs, both have its pros and cons. There's DSUM is no reason for you to shelve sumif, but both are really, really useful to have in your toolbox. Okay, so guys, with that, I hope you enjoyed the 4 of Excel's best kept secrets, and I'll see you next week. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment on the video. See you later. Do you want to be an Excel god? Our online course will turn you into an Excel master in only 90 days. Excel is the most important tool in the office, but almost nobody knows how to use it. Most people dive right into Excel with no formal training and never use the right tools. And thus, they end up delivering messy reports that are full of mistakes, and they end up hating their jobs. In reality, Excel is really simple to use and can do your job for you, if you know how to use it. But you have to pick the right place to learn from, or you'll only end up more confused with all of the different tools and functions that Excel has to offer you. So, what can you do? Our Excel course is tailor-made for you. We're going to teach you Excel, all of Excel, using real-life examples, from simple exercises to full-fledged business case studies. Take the online course and you'll be an Excel god in only 90 days. The course consists in more than 45 lessons and 15 case studies, all with their detailed solutions completely recorded in video, and you're going to be able to access them whenever you want, whatever you want. Best of all, you're going to have lifetime access to the course, and you're going to get any of the updates that we're constantly putting out for free. Even better, when you get our course, you'll have free access to our full Visual Basic and Macros course, and also to our Power BI course, all with just one single purchase. More than 3,000 students have passed through our classrooms. We've attended companies like Kodak, IBM, Cemex, HP, Continental, DB Schenker, and more. So, if you want to absolutely master Excel, make sure that you sign up now. You will become an Excel god. A2 Excel.